inspirational speaker, international labor organizational certified trainer, and author of the best-selling book, The Amazing Race to Entrepreneurial Freedom. With over 20 years of outstanding results delivery and experience, Georgina uses her skills and knowledge globally to help develop people previously unrealized business and personal goals. Georgina's success with international and multicultural clients, example in Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Canada, the United Kingdom, and West Africa, reveals her exemplary ability to adapt quickly to diverse cultural norms as she works with organizations to increase and align their passion, people, performance, and profits. Georgina, CEO of Business and People Development Associates Limited, provider of business advisory and business development services, and founder of Passions to Profitability, providing business and personal development products and services to aspiring entrepreneurs to increase the success rate of new businesses, is originally from London, England. Before moving to Trinidad in 2001, she worked for The Economist and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Georgina is also a commissioner on the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago State Board. Georgina has been featured in The Guardian and Express national newspapers, in Outlish magazine, is a regular guest on 104.1, a national radio station, and was a guest on the Atlanta TV show, What's Your Story? Georgina's purpose in this life is to assist people in living their lives and growing their businesses by desire and design, rather than by default. Georgina says, and these are her words to quote, "I believe to the core of my being that when you tap into your passion, you will never work again, because work will become play." Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the stage Miss Georgina Terry.
Good morning. Yes, it's still morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, firstly, I want to thank the university for inviting me to speak today. So a big thank you for having me here. And I'm honoured to speak to all of you here today. I am actually living my passion right now, being here speaking with you all. So before I move into the presentation, just wanted to share, to give some little insights into me. You've heard that sort of long list of things. Who is this person really in front of you? Years ago, when I was very, very small, which was a very, 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 very long time ago, I saw somebody copying what I was going to say. I was given a gift, a blessing, and at the time I wasn't aware that it was a blessing. My parents told myself and my 3 siblings that we could be anything we wanted to be in this world. Anything. The only limitation we had was in our minds. And you can imagine when children, when you're young, you believe everything you hear. So we heard that very young and we took that on board. And so we've all grown up believing and knowing, because once you believe, you know, that we can be anything we want in this world. So at 16, I decided, and I use the word deliberately, decided that I would become an accountant. I hadn't even sat my equivalent of the CXC exams, but I decided I would be an accountant, and I became one. I decided a few years later than that I wanted to move from finance into consulting. And that happened. I became a change management consultant. I decided I wanted to move and live in another country, in a place I could live legally. It was Trinidad. My mother's from Trinidad. And that happened. And 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to start my own business. And with that decision came the action, and that's what happened. The reason I share that is because when we make a conscious decision to do something. That's the hardest piece. Making that decision. Because once you make that decision and you lock onto it, it's not a wish, it's not a whim. It is a heartfelt, to the core of your being, that this is what I want. And it's without a shadow of a doubt, that is what you want. You will then do what is necessary, and things will come into your path that will make what you desire, that you want, that you decide happen. The power you need to have all that you want in this world is within you. And if there's nothing else you take from what I talk about, it's that. So, one of the other things I decided along my journey in this life was that I wanted to run a marathon. Well, initially it was just to be fit enough to run one, not necessarily one. And then I decided I would partake in one as opposed to run one. And so I did. So give me, and I did. Now, that's a real picture, it's not photoshopped, it's me with my medal. Now, the thing with this, I was training for the full marathon. And I took part in the half marathon, it's about 2 years ago. I did it again this year. And there's two parts to this. One, when walking into the area at UE to get you have to get like a little band on your leg that collects your time. As we were walking in, there was a sign that said athletes only. Now, I'd never before thought of myself as an athlete. And I'm like, wow, athletes only. So I walked in, really proud of myself. So I claimed the fact that I was an athlete. So I now call Georgina the athlete. And just that shift in terms of what am I claiming, and I claimed that label, made me have so much more pride in myself and what I was able to accomplish. The other part of the story is I ran the half marathon, and I was doing that as training for the full marathon. But I actually ended up pulling my hamstring 2 weeks after the half. So I didn't actually do the full marathon. Now the thing is, when we have a goal, we might not always achieve it. But if I didn't have the goal of running the full marathon, I've never run the half. So sometimes you might not always reach where you want to get to, but you can reach a lot further than you would have done if you hadn't had that goal. The thing about claiming being an athlete is to think about for yourselves, what do you want to claim? What do you want to claim as your own? Again, not wish, not a whim, but to your core, what are you claiming? Because what you claim will be, and a lot of times, subconsciously, we claim things. Be conscious of what you claim, because your life right now is based on all the choices you have made, be them conscious or unconscious, or subconscious. So, think about what you want to claim. So, hear about entrepreneurship. I'm a firm believer that the road to entrepreneurship is a marathon, not a sprint. A lot of the times I've found with working with different individuals, and just even things you read as well, I work with a lot of people who want to start businesses, that they want to jump in and get going. They plan a little bit, or maybe plan nothing at all, they just have this desire, they just have this idea, and they're gone. And the rough percentages of roughly about 50% of businesses, new businesses, do not make their 5th birthday. That's a lot, and that's globally. For me, one of the reasons is the fact that people think it's going to be a short run. So they get off running really quick. But it's a long process. I'm not very technological. So things to think about. It's a long process. Now don't be put off by the fact that I'm using the analogy of a marathon. That's really just the idea that there are several parts to developing yourself as an entrepreneur. It's a journey. And there's so many things along the way. There's so many things I've learned about myself on my entrepreneurial journey. So it's a marathon as opposed to a quick sprint. Now, as Sherry had mentioned, I've read a book called The Amazing Race to Entrepreneurial Freedom. And the book has three major areas that I believe are the ingredients for success for entrepreneurs. One is getting yourself ready. 2, getting your business ready. And 3, transitioning from employee to entrepreneur or student to entrepreneur. Now, the reason I wrote the book was because there were so many things out there, and books out there that talk about developing a business. Talk about your business plan, the marketing strategy, your sales plan, all of those things, your financial projections, which are all important. But what I found was the thing that was missing is that many of the books forgot the person. They talked about the business, but what about the person who's got to run the business, to grow that business? To me, I found that piece was missing. And even through my own experiences, I found that when I started my own business, I had been in the corporate world for 17 years. And as far as I was concerned, I knew what to do. I was an accountant, I was a consultant. And once I got over the fear of, can I be successful at this, I was like, yes, I'm ready. But when I crossed over into the world of entrepreneurship, I struggled. I realized I didn't really know what to do. What was this thing about being an entrepreneur and being a business owner? I was a great accountant and a great consultant and a great coach. But they're skills. They had nothing to do with actually running a business. So the person, Georgina Terry, was not ready. And I started to meet with other people and other clients who wanted to start business and realizing this was a common thing. And therefore, I wanted to start sharing what I consider to be the 3 components to help you get to your 5th birthday and beyond. My analogy for this is like, most people when they're getting ready to start a business, it's like, say you get all the pieces to build a car, like a race car. And you have the picture of the race car in your mind, and then all the pieces come and you put it all together. Then the car's there, and it's looking wonderful, and you've got the key in the engine, and the car's purring. And then you're like, yes! You jump in the car, and you sit down, and then you go, I can't drive. I can't drive. But you know what? You spent all this time building this car. So you drive it anyway. And you end up crashing, killing somebody, maiming yourself, but not getting very far. So what I'm going to focus on today is getting the driver ready. The driver must be ready. So the 3 areas that I'm going to focus on, or 4 technically. Your passion and vision, getting those defined. And I think I didn't mention before, the book I wrote it's around the analogy of a marathon, to kind of keep consistent. So the book has miles as opposed to chapters. So you have mile 1, mile 2, etc. You have actually 26.2 miles. So the first 2 miles in the book are mile 1 and mile 2. Mile 3 is the characteristics of an entrepreneur. And mile 5 is the relationship one has with money. There are several other miles within the first area of getting yourself ready, but these are the 3 that I want you to focus on. So the first mile, passion. Deep within each each one of us, there is an inner longing to live a life of greatness and contribution, to really matter, to really make a difference. Quote from Dr. Stephen Covey. I'm going to read you something from this great book I have in my hand. It's mine. It's actually not a quote from me, but I put several quotes in here. I find it quite powerful. You cannot and will not acquire wealth working at a job you do not like. Whatever you spend your life's energy doing, you must be willing to give it your all. The more you put into your work, the greater it will reward you. We are trained to think in the reverse. If you pay me better, I'll work harder. According to the law of abundance, it does not work that way. Your job, work, life assignment must be the spark that fuels your fire. It must be a passion that you pursue. You must want it enough to do it for free. You must be willing to stick with it, taking the ups and downs, giving it all that you are for as long as you can. You've got to taste it, smell it, know it whether you're awake or asleep. If you do not have a lustful passion for your work, you really need to find something else to do. That's by Van Sant. I truly believe that. So passion. To me, passion fuels everything. It has to be the first part. I was watching a movie the other day, and one of the characters said, "Don't chase the money, chase the dream." And I think that's one of the things sometimes people get into business and they think about making quick money. If you want to make quick money, do not start your own business, because it doesn't come quickly. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes prayers. It's not a quick money thing. If you want quick money, go get a job. But as I said, the first part for me around starting your own business, this isn't just even generally for life, have passion for what you're doing. Passion is the fuel of life. So some great quotes I had here. Without passion, you have nothing. Without passion, you don't have energy. Without energy, you have nothing. A great leader's courage to fulfill his vision comes from passion, not position. So what are you passionate about? A lot of times I work with clients, they're not quite sure what their passion is.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Daniell earlier. Sorry, forgive me. And he was sharing with me that he has an engineering company and also is into music production and composing. And I said, is there a similarity in the essence of these two areas? Because at first they seem quite different, engineering, music. And he said, basically the underlying is that they're both based on mathematics. And the structure to both. So he has his passion is through mathematics and structure, which comes through in both areas of his life. So my question, what are you passionate about? The question that I normally would ask people is, if you had to work for 1 year but could not get paid for your time, what would you do and why? Now, you can't lie in bed for the entire year. You have to leave the house and do something. So if you had to work for 1 year, receive no remuneration, what would you do and why? Anyone willing to share? All these people in this room, and not one person is willing to share. Oh, love it. You might have to come to me.
The one thing that I would do would be become a judge. I say this because I like the power associated with it.
Okay, what's the passion in the power?
It's not so much the passion in the power as what the power can get me.
And it's interesting that sometimes people will say something and they give the first response to what they think is their, the core. But when you ask another question, it's kind of like, not quite sure where that's coming from. The thing is, if you're going to start your own business, or just in general, you've got to know who you are and what you stand for. Really know what you are and what you stand for. What you are passionate about will fuel what you do. Now, if you can't answer that question, another way of knowing what your passion is, look at your book collection, look at your magazines, think about the things you research on the internet when you have free time. Think about the things you do in your spare time. Because the things you do in your spare time, you're not being paid for, but you're using your time to do it. And even if it's watching TV, what are you watching? Because there's something in there that's watching. There's something in there that you like to do or like to know about. Once you know what your passion is, it doesn't necessarily mean that the thing you think your passion is, if I go back to David, the passion isn't necessarily engineering or music. There's an underlying essence. So if you understand one of the things that you really enjoy, you can strip it back and work out what is the essence of this thing. Because that essence you can take and put into other things. So you can make what you do part of your passion. So for me, one of my passions is to do what I'm doing now, is to inspire people to live their lives by desire and design and not by default. And I can do that in so many ways, through speaking, through writing, through one-on-one coaching. But that's the essence of what I do, and it can be packaged, if you will, into different things. So take the time to start understanding yourself better. What is your passion? Second, mile 2. So we have passion, we have the fuel. Then what is the vision? What is your vision? Now, remember the piece we're talking about is getting you ready, getting the driver ready for business. So a lot of business books talk about your business vision. I'm not talking about that. That's one small piece. I'm talking about the vision for your life. Many people, so you're a lot older than yourselves, have focused on their career. We are taught to focus on our careers. And what happens is some people will follow that path of their career and do extremely well. But what will happen, they'll look around the rest of their life and wonder why they either don't have a family, or if they have a family, the kids don't like them, kids don't know them, their partner doesn't know them either. And some of the reasons for that is because the focus has solely been on the career. You get what you focus on. So what I like to show people, start focusing on your entire life. What is the vision you want for your life? Your business and career will be part of that. But it's not only that. What life do you want to have in the future? What kind of husband, what kind of wife do you want to be? Do you want to have? What kind of business do you want to have? What kind of children do you have? What kind of parent do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? What things do you want in your life? Where do you want to travel? What kind of home do you want to live in? What kind of car do you want to drive? do you want to be? What's your level of spirituality? Your vision should encompass all of those things, not just one. If you're able to encompass all of those in your vision and then you focus on those, you will lead a fulfilling life, rather than having a great business or a great career and nothing else. A nice quote I found. Aim high, aim for the impossible. Do not worry what others say. Have the conviction in your dreams, in your thoughts. Soon you will realize you have made your dreams possible. Having a vision is really extremely important. I find it amazing that not many people have a vision of their lives. And my take on it is, I'm sure you see people who just look miserable the majority of the time. They're just dragging themselves through each day. Wake up, they're miserable. They go for the day miserable. They go to bed miserable. They're not living fulfilling lives. Imagine a world where people took the time to envision their entire life and were living that. Imagine how different this world would be. Today when you were coming here, you all knew you were coming here, otherwise if you didn't, you wouldn't be here, right? So when you woke up, you knew you had to be here for a certain time, and because of that certain time, you then knew I had to make sure I wake up in this time and move on. Get dressed, travel, get in a car. So you knew where you were going, right? In life though, people get up and haven't thought about where they're going in life and just stumble around. And then when they get lost in life, they blame someone else. When it's their life. So know where you want your life to go. It's okay if the vision changes. So you detour to get there. But if you have no vision, you end up anywhere. And end up not being a very happy person either. So how did I get here? You took yourself. Stephen Covey talks about starting with the end in mind. It's Habit 2, his book, The Highly Effective. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Start with the end, which is have a vision first and then move towards it. With no vision, as I've said already, you're moving, you're existing, but are you going where you want to go? If you have a vision, you make conscious choices about getting closer to it. A vision, I believe, helps you design your life and grow your business by desire and design, because those are the things, it's very conscious of what you're doing, rather than default. Default, you just get what you get. You can follow if you want and continue to get what you get. But if you get what you get, keep quiet, stop moaning. But if you want to live the life you really want to have, and it is possible. I did an exercise with a group once and got them to do a visualization. I'm conscious of the time. I have a bad habit of kind of ad-libbing all over the place. And I did a visualization with the group and got people to close their eyes and envision where they wanted to be in a few years' time. And at the end of the exercise, one woman put her hand down and she said, I overdreamt. I said, what do you mean you overdreamt? She said, well, I imagine myself in this amazing business, beautiful house, wonderful car. And I said, I don't understand you, overdreamt. But I can't have those. I said, but that's what you want. I said, for the first time in your life, you got out of the way and allowed yourself to see what you wanted without limitation. Stop limiting yourselves by your thoughts. Get your thoughts out and think about what it is you truly want. Because whatever you truly want, you will have. But you have to believe that. And the vision has to be clear. And how you get clarity is you write it down. And don't be scared about writing it down. It's yours. Your vision does not have to make sense to anybody else. Because it's yours. And that vision has come from above, not from with you. It's come through you. We all have a purpose in this life, all of us. But only some of us are brave enough to do it. Allow your vision to become a reality. But it takes first for you to see it and really want it. One of my visions was to become a best-selling author. While I was writing my book, I decided I would be a best-selling author. And guess what? The book became a bestseller. Decide what you want and go for it. Okay, mile 3, the characteristics of a good entrepreneur. Another quote, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. I love that quote. All right, a couple of examples of entrepreneurship. Peter Drucker said the entrepreneur searches for change, responds to it and exploits it as an opportunity. And I believe someone earlier talked about opportunity, one of the speakers earlier. Innovation has the specific tool of entrepreneurs, the means by which they exploit change and opportunity for a different business or a different service. Another one from Harvard's Business School says that entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity without regard to the resources currently under one's control. A lot of the times when I speak to people about wanting to start a business, I say, what's stopping you? And there's two major things. One, firstly, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to do to get going. And the second one is, I don't have any money. You don't need a lot of money to start a business. You think you need a lot of money to start a business. We can start small. I have clients who come to me with huge dreams about this big business they want. The business is great, the idea is great. You can turn it into an opportunity, but you need to start small. You don't need $1 million. You can take the business and scale it down. Scale it down and allow them to find the customers, to start getting a name for yourself. And as you start getting a name for yourself, you then expand. A business idea is not a business opportunity. A lot of people fall in love with their business idea. And you go, you know what? You go to your mom, you go to your dad, you go to your best friend, everyone says, yeah, it's fantastic. But they're not your customers. They're not paying you any money. So a good entrepreneur looks for an opportunity and decides how to go after it. And an entrepreneur is someone who's resourceful. Use what they've got to make it happen. Will not sit back and wait. Well, I can't because I've got no money. I can't because no one can help me. Well, go and look for it. But if the passion and the vision is not there, then it just remains a dream. Or maybe not even a dream, just a thought. Just I wish I could. Wish I had my own business. If you really wanted it, you would just make it happen. So if you want it, get going. Entrepreneurs are people who see opportunities and take action. So what do entrepreneurs see? Oh gosh, what a crowd. Wake up, everybody. What do entrepreneurs see? What do they see? And what do they take? What do they see? What do they take? Say it like you mean it. What do they see? What do they take? Okay. Who would like a copy of my book? Who would like a copy of my book? Who would like a copy of my book? Okay, what did I say just now? Entrepreneurs see, and what do they do? I do. So, did you get the book? You saw you all, like look at this, you all saw an opportunity. But one person took action. How many opportunities do you normally see and then you do nothing? And then go, I wish I got that book, you know. Wish I had that book, you know. He's so lucky he got the book. No, he's not lucky. He got up and got it. So, put these the 6 D's for entrepreneurship. Desire, we talked about having passion. Have some dedication, what you're going after. Determination, do not give up. If you really want it and you have a vision, you will not stop. If you're stopping, you don't want it enough. Sometimes when I talk, people don't like what they hear. I'm sorry for that, but it's true. Have the discipline. I went to a seminar, it wasn't a seminar, it was a course, earlier this year. There's a great business mentor called Keith Cunningham. He is a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur and he does training for business owners. And I went to the course. And he has some really powerful statements that are very simple. Another one, discipline, what brings to mind is he says, ordinary things done consistently produce extraordinary results. Ordinary things done consistently produce extraordinary results. Normally what happens, we're looking for the big thing to happen. And we keep waiting for this big thing. This big thing doesn't happen. So what? We don't get anything. He says, ordinary things done consistently produce extraordinary results. And I'll use an analogy, a weight analogy. Someone could be 400 pounds in weight. And if every day, or maybe not 400, let's take 300. I don't think 400 pound person can walk, so I'm not sure. But let's say 200 pounds. And each day they get up and they walk around the block. And then they choose to start eating properly, more healthily. And they keep doing that every day. Every day. They will lose pound by pound by pound. And then they'll be on an advert. But they didn't just drop all the weight off in one day, no. They didn't do anything miraculous. Thank you. You're awake. They took ordinary thing and did it consistently and produced extraordinary results. So, what can you do every day? What ordinary thing can you do every day that will make you have an extraordinary result? It's an ordinary thing. An ordinary thing. Just done consistently for you to produce some extraordinary results. Then there's drive. Gotta keep going. And the last one, which is normally quite hard, to disengage from the outcome. What that means is have the vision out there. Create it, see it, feel it, touch it, smell it. And then just let it go. Doesn't mean you don't want it, but then start focusing on what is at hand. Don't be so fixated on it you can't do anything else. Put it out there, and then start your day. Okay, mile 5. Now way over time. Okay, but I'm quickly on it. Relationship with money. Now, when people start businesses, everyone talks about startup capital. Must have startup capital, must have startup capital. Well, yes. But who's going to look after you when the business starts? Where's your money coming from to feed you? And pay your bills? And people forget that. So, before you can start worrying about the business paying for itself, you need money for yourself. So I advocate you should always have saved, you should always saved. Now I advocate a year's salary as a benchmark. Save up some money so that when you start your business, you've got enough money saved to look after you and pay your bills. And pay and give you some money to live on, to feed, to eat. Because a business and you cannot be fighting for the same money. It takes about 3 years for a business to actually break even. So you need to take care of yourself. Save some money and use that money to feed you, to look after you. Because not having money is very stressful. So the Trinity say, take in front. So put money, no, that's second easy. Make sure you save some money. So when you start your business, but that money's for you. Don't save for the business. Save for your first self first. And put that money, that's my money. Business, you wait. consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Now, one of the things when you start your own business or about to start your own business, you might have to change some of your habits. Now, I saved a year's salary, and I was on a very, 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 very good salary. So a year's salary before I started my business. And I spent it in a year. Now, what I'll share with you, my year's salary would have lasted me 3 years if I had changed my habits, but I continued living the lifestyle. Forgetting that things were flowing out faster than they were flowing in. I forgot to reduce my wants. So you can start saving more, but you might have to make some changes. You will have to make some changes. Stop eating out all the time, stop partying all the time, buying new clothes, makeup, CDs, latest PTP, whatever the things are. You might have to change what you want to get what you want later down the road. Sacrifice today and live in greatness later. So there are things that I say you should come up with your list of critical obligations, things you have to pay for. Work out what that is, multiply that by 12, and that's your figure that you should really start working towards saving. And critical obligations are critical things you have to pay for. So your rent, mortgage, utilities, food, travel, loans. Work out what that is, multiply by 12 and go, that's what I need to put away. So you have something, at least up to 12 months, to feed you and keep you going while your business is growing. But we don't think about that, they think about the business. They do not get themselves ready. The driver is forgotten about. No driver, no business. Or not a very successful business. Alright, before I wrap up, which I'm going to wrap up in like 2 minutes, I did special offers for you. Anyone, I have some books with me. Anyone who actually wants to purchase a book, you'll get the workbook free. That's for you just being here and listening to me. And secondly, I have a program called the Entrepreneurial Race. Again, anyone who's attended the conference here today, you can join that for a discount of 10%. So anyone who's interested can see me after. I'll be here until lunchtime. Lastly, mile 26. Crossing the finish line and the starting line. There are several areas to get your business ready. We've really just touched on some: the passion, the vision, personal, what you want personally. There's so many other areas. If you want this, you must have a plan. You must have a plan for yourself and your business. And you must understand what you need to change, what habits you need to change in order to become the successful entrepreneur you want to become. So start putting together an outcome plan. What needs to happen every month for you to start getting what you want? And take one area, it might just be your finances, might be your business idea. Just take something and start working on it. Ordinary things that consistently produce extraordinary results. With that, I'm finished. Thank you very much, everybody.
But he won't be also. Yeah. We can meet her up. She's going to finish her presentation.
Good afternoon.
She finished.
Good afternoon again. It gives me a pleasure to respond to Ms. Georgina's presentation. Her title was The Entrepreneurial Mindset. And she has presented it in such a simple fashion that what is taught in the classroom is brought down in a more simplified manner. She particularly made clear that entrepreneurship is a marathon and not a sprint. That resonated in my mind, and what we, trainers of human resources and men of future business, what they have to take home. We teach in economics that business firms are out to make profit. And if business is out to make profit, there is something missing. You may wonder what that is. That is a sprint to get in, make profit, and get out. But the longer term requirement for a sustainable economic development is that businesses should be there for the long run. That is what grows the economy, sustainability. And that's what Georgina Terry classified as the marathon. I believe that we have learned from what she just presented to us in a very simplified manner. She pointed out some major points that could be taken into consideration before any budding student or entrepreneur could venture into actual business. She mentioned vision. Of course, if you want to start a business and you don't have any vision, that means you have no direction. Importantly, she mentioned passion. If you have passion for what you want to do, then your job becomes a pleasure. Also, she mentioned the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Quoted Peter Drucker, the guru of business management. And we learned from the example she just gave when she demonstrated who wanted her book. Many of us lifted our hands, but one person took action. One word that has been repeated time and again in this seminar has been opportunity. When the opportunity presents itself, what must necessarily follow is the action. If you have the opportunity and you take no action, it just remains a desire. You desire to do this, you desire to do that, but you don't do nothing. An entrepreneur sees profit where others see profit. And she has just demonstrated that. And what I've taken home here is that entrepreneurship, to be, in just one word to me, is opportunity. And what you do is your attitude towards the opportunity that has been presented. So I thank Georgina Terry for simplifying and elaborating on the entrepreneurial mindset that our burning entrepreneurs should bear in mind. And at this point, I would like to ask the audience if they have questions, they could please do that. Thank you. Anyone with questions, please? It seems Georgina Terry made the entrepreneurial mindset very easy that so many people are satisfied. Go ahead.
This question is Terry. You spoke about the transition from the workplace, that is you were working in the workplace, a consultant, I believe you said, to a business entrepreneur. Can you expand a little bit on the process from consultant or worker in the workplace to an entrepreneur? How difficult is that?
Good question. There's a long answer, but I won't give the long answer. In summary, one of the things is that as an employee, when you're in your business, you work for a company, and you come up with a decision to start your own business, start looking at the company you work for in through different eyes. Start looking at that company as if it was your business. So start practicing. So see how they do their marketing. See how they do their sales. See how they do their financing if you can. Start looking at how different people in the organisation operate. And through that, you can start seeing what you would improve and what you would do better. Now, that's something that I actually didn't do. I was a very model employee. I was with my clients doing consulting work. I was asked if I'd go on sales visits, put together marketing materials. Like, no, I'm not interested in that. Those were missed opportunities. So use your existing environment. Even if you're here in the university, see how the university markets itself. See how it goes about sales. See how it goes about enticing people to come and do the courses. Start looking at that. Start looking at the world in a different way. Also, start to become more comfortable with taking risk. Calculate risk, but risk nonetheless. Entrepreneurs have to be willing to step into the unknown. Now, as I said earlier, you want to make sure you've got some things in place, maybe your finances, your business opportunity, etc. But you've got to be willing to cross that line. So those are the key things, I'd say, just to start. There's a whole load more, but that may be another hour in itself, and I won't do that.
Any more questions? Apparently, everyone is satisfied and convinced that entrepreneurship seminar has opened new vistas for them to venture out and get involved in business. And that instead of waiting to be employed, that all of you are going to be employers of men. Since there is no more question, or apparently no more question, I hand over the mic. Thank you.
Now we will be favored by a special member, by Atisha Sylvester. And
Good afternoon, everyone.
And life was nothing but an awful song. But now I know the meaning of true love. I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. If I can see it, then I can do just believe it. There's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. See, I was on the verge of breaking down. Sometimes the silence, it seems so loud. There are miracles in life I must achieve, yes. But first I know it starts inside of me. Oh, if I can see it, Atisha. That was beautiful. Recently on my BlackBerry, and yes, I do have one, so I'm up with technology. I posted on my status that in God's eyes, your future is looking bright. And I can say that for everyone that is represented here. In God's eyes, your future is looking bright. Maya Angelou says that success is liking yourself, liking what you do and liking how you do it. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And I can say that for a speaker, Alvin C. Daniell. Alvin Daniell is a mechanical engineer with a Bachelor of Science from UWI and a Master of Science from Washington University in Missouri, St. Louis. He's also a cultural researcher, television presenter, composer, and music producer. He produced and wrote the lyrics for the winning Panorama selection, First in the Line in 2009, Batten's Home in 2010, and It's Showtime in 2011. He hosted the popular Calypso Showcase television program from 1992 to 2000 and has done color commentary on carnival shows since 1986. He's a director of Comfort Engineering Limited and the president of his own music publishing company, Major and Minor Productions Limited. He's a former chairman of the Music Copyright Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, COT, and the Trinidad and Tobago Entertainment Company, TT Entertainment. He was the recipient of the Hummingbird Award for Culture in 1995. When I met Mr. Daniell this morning and introduced myself, saying that I would be introducing him, he reminded me that I should keep it short. And so this is what I'll do. And my final quote from Mrs. Fields Cricket. She says, "The important thing is not being afraid to take a chance. Remember, the greatest failure is not to try. Once you find something you love to do, be the best at doing it." And I think Mr. Daniell enjoys what he does. Please welcome to the podium, Mr. Alvin.
Thank you, and good morning all. Oh, good afternoon, sorry. By now I think it's... Yes. Okay. You'll see a slide coming up every now and again. It has my name, companies that I work for, my email address, my website. What I want to do, I want to thank Georgina for making my presentation a little bit easier, because a lot of what I had planned to say the early part about entrepreneurship, she covered it so well that I will go into what I would really like to spend some time on. How do you actually make that final step to get into your own business? So some of the introductory slides we'll go through fairly quickly. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. I talk about who's an entrepreneur, and I have a slightly different definition than most people have. I see an entrepreneur as one who organizes a business and assumes the risk. And the final part is the most important for me, for the sake of profit. There's no need, there's no sense in going into business if you're not going to make a profit. Because if you're not making a profit, you will not last very long. So I like to add that in my definition. Some even say that an entrepreneur is one who succeeds in business where another has failed by learning from the mistakes of the previous businessman. When we check history, we'll see that a lot of times the people who are successful in business didn't come up with the original idea. They looked at someone who failed at it, looked at what they did wrong, corrected it, and then they became successful in the particular venture. And that's another thing to keep in mind. The big question here, because the main theme that I've been asked to address is entrepreneurship in the cultural industry. And as you know, the perception of people who get into cultural work or cultural vocations are people who starve. You think of a guitarist as the guy who sits on a pavement begging people for coins, or a saxophonist, or when you go in the subway in New York, you see a guy with a violin and with a hat. And that's your perception of the person in culture, someone who does not make money. And the question I ask is, can a cultural practitioner who tends to produce artistic creations possess or acquire the skills to be a risk taker? And that's what we're going to look at today. The first thing you should do if you plan to go out into business and be an entrepreneur is to ask yourself the following questions. By nature, do you possess the capacity to take risks? Are you that kind of a person? Are you turned on by a sense of, and we've heard this word so many times, opportunity? There's an opportunity to open a business in this area where no one else has gone. Do you get a thrill? Do you feel excited? If you're not getting excited by that, entrepreneurship may not be for you. Are you a leader capable of motivating others to follow you? Do by nature, do like my friend here and jump up to collect his book. He's thinking like, if nobody wants to go, I will go. When they have a group and they say, I need somebody to lead this group, are you one of those who immediately say, I think I can handle it? Or do you wait to see who will go first? Ask yourself these questions. Do you possess that innovative spirit capable of transforming ideas into feasible projects? You know, there are a lot of people with ideas. You hear them saying, somebody should. Somebody really better do that. But they never say, I want to do this, or I am the one that's going to make this happen. Ask yourself these questions before you take that jump. And not just because everybody is saying it's good to be an entrepreneur. If you can't answer these questions positively about yourself, entrepreneurship may not be for you. The planning stage. Georgina said a very important thing a while ago, and you know, I have a prepared script which I will leave for your for you to get later on. That if you're working in a business and you're thinking about going out, the first thing you need to do is start thinking of that business like if it's your business. Any decision that you make, you must make it as though this is my money I'm spending. Before you go into your own business, you're gaining the experience of the company that you work in, but thinking of it as though it is your company. I had a recent experience where I was the director of the Trinidad and Tobago Entertainment Company, and there was a proposal that we should get into a particular area. As the chairman, my style has always been to let all of the directors speak, give their suggestions and whatnot, and then I would endorse maybe the decision of the majority. And there was this one occasion when this proposal came up that to a man or to a woman, every director felt we should be doing this, we should be doing this. And then I asked the question to the directors, because I didn't think we should have. If it was your money, would you invest in this proposal? And everyone said no. And this is what you have to do when you're working in a company and you are given the job to go out and make a decision on behalf of the company. Ask yourself, if this was my company and this was my money I invested, would I do this? Because you're making a decision on behalf of the company. Once you get that style of thinking, it becomes easier to make the transition to have your own business. Brainstorm every aspect of the business. I'm going to develop this a little bit later on when I tell you a little bit about the formation of my company, Comfort Engineering Limited. Invest financially to the highest level That may sound like opposing what Georgina said, but I'm going to explain the significance of that also. And then ask yourself, what do you do best? It's an important question. There are times you tell yourself, I feel I can do this better than any other person. Just one little thing. I'm the best person at that. You have to believe that when you go into business in a particular area. If you don't, you're always going to be second best because you're going to say, well, I'm not as good as this guy, but I'm going to still try and see if I can compete with him. That doesn't work. You have to believe that you are the best in a particular vocation. The formative years, and again someone spoke a bit about this, I think it was the governor of the central bank. Most companies don't survive past the 2 or 3 years of doing business. I remember when I was leaving Nila Massey, I was a director at Nila Massey for 3.5 years. I was the engineering director, and I had made my decision that I was going to open my own business. And when I went to Mr. Rosta, who was the second in command of the whole Nila Massey group, 65 companies, and I told him I had made the decision to leave. But everyone thought I was crazy to leave the Nila Massey group of companies with a company vehicle, a good salary, all sorts of little perks, get a little bonus at Christmas, etc. To go out on my own. And he said to me, I give you 2 years. This year we made 32 years in confidence. Expect to work long hours with a modest remuneration. When you first start your own business, you're going to have to work like you never worked before. But that wasn't news for me because I was already working for Nila Massey long hours for what I consider little remuneration, although they thought it was large. And don't try to impress your peers. When you first go into business, I remember one guy telling me when I just got into business, weren't you driving a so-and-so when you was at Nila Massey? What are you driving now? The temptation to prove to your peers you're doing so well when you now start. You want to drive the biggest car. You want to have the grandest office. You want to have a nice high back chair with a desk wrapping around you. So when they come in to see you, they say, wow, he's doing well. All of the money that you could have invested in your idea, you've invested in looking good. It does not help. And last of all, be a jack of all trades. I used to think, I just want to be an engineer. I don't want to be anything else. But once you decide to go into business, but you find out when you're working for other people too, you have to be more than that. You have to be an accountant. You have to be a salesperson. You have to get involved in marketing. You have to learn to handle people. You've got to learn to work with people. And these are not basic engineering things. It's about getting all of the peripheral duties done as well. Let's talk about my personal experience because I think it's here that I can share with you some of the pitfalls that I ran into and how I dealt with it. Well, I graduated from UE in 1968, and when I came out, I started to work with a little company called Thermo Engineering Limited. I worked there for 18 months, although it felt like 5 years. And I used to work an average of 16 hours a day, Monday to Sunday. I remember when my wife was having a baby, I wanted to be there when the baby arrived. But at that same day, I was putting equipment on top of a building in Chagaramas on a Sunday. So I told her, don't worry, I'm right outside, which is not true. What I was doing was checking the workmen, getting things done, driving back to the hospital, anything yet, driving back to this, and it went like that for the whole day. Well, I still didn't get my wish because the baby born 1 o'clock in the morning, at which time they had told me, go home, this baby is not coming until tomorrow. When I came 6 o'clock in the morning, I had a bouncing baby boy. But I want to point out again the problems that you may have when you have made commitments. Your family, a lot of times, you have to still find a way to take care of their needs. After spending that year and a half with Thermo Engineering Limited, and I realized this was not going to work for me, I worked for 5 years with Shell Trinidad Limited. Now, I had been a Shell scholar when I went to UWI. I got a scholarship from Shell. I wrote a letter to Shell telling them I've graduated, I'm available. I never got a reply. However, a job opportunity came up. Someone who went to the interview saw me and said, I was interviewed for a job today and they looked like they were talking about you. Call this guy. I got the job the same day. I talked to the guy and the guy said, yes, you look like a person. And he was flabbergasted to find out I was a Shell scholar and I was not working with Shell. Cut a long story short, I worked 5 years for Shell. I was like the LPG manager from Tortola right back to Guyana, flying to every island in between. One of the things I got to see was that in every island of the Caribbean, the people that were in charge of some of the largest companies had no university training whatsoever. In fact, I remember in St. Martin, there was this guy who had 16 companies, each of which were multi-billion-dollar companies. And he hadn't passed the equivalent of our second standard. But he was in charge, and he lived well. I remember in St. Lucia, a guy we just called Bang was in charge of all the gas services in St. Lucia. His average sentence sounded like if it needed a verb. But he was a big man. And it was like that through all the islands in the Caribbean. These were risk takers, these were entrepreneurs that excelled. Well, I decided to do a second degree, and I did it at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. And that was basically to do what we call mechanical and electrical systems for a typical building. That turned out to be quite a good education for me, and when I came back, I left Shell and started to work with Neil Massey, Climate Control Limited. And then 3.5 years later, I founded Comfort Engineering Limited in 1979 with 2 other guys. Here begins what I call the education. When I decided that I wanted to open my new business, this was around June of 1978. There were 2 other guys that I approached who were thinking like myself. One was in finance, the other was in marketing. And for a 6-month period, we met literally every night to discuss all aspects of the business. Anything that you could think of that could go right or wrong, we talked about. Since we go to an air conditioning company, their first question to me is, are we going to be able to get business? I said, that's my department. I guarantee you, we will get business. I know all the people in Miami, whatnot, United States, we will get business. I can tell you this, the company opened its doors on the 1st of February, 1979, and on the first day, we already had $1 million worth of business. That's the confidence that I had that we would get work. My biggest fear was finance. Financial person who actually is a guy I know from age 5, and I know he had the ability to handle money, and he was a banker at the time, and he said, that's the easy part. I didn't believe him. He said the first thing we have to do is to make an investment that's going to hurt your pocket. When he called the amount, and I don't want to call the amount today, might do sound like a lot today, but we're talking way back in 1979. I said, Jesus Christ, where am I going to get this amount of money? Fortunately, because I worked with Shell, I had a home. And so I mortgaged it to the hilt, got the money. The three of us invested the same amount of money. Then I realized, when we decided how much we could pay ourselves, because here again he said, we're not going to pay ourselves any large sums of money because we will cripple the company too quickly. I told myself that I will not be able to eat. And I had to come up with an innovative way to keep money in my pocket, which is, because in those days you could claim all of the interest on your home, I went to the Inland Revenue and showed them that when I took all my deductions, I didn't have to pay any tax. The first 3 years that I worked, I paid no tax, legally, because of the high interest rates on my home. And that is how I was able to eat. Investing till it hurts is very important. In-house training, and I see I have to be very careful of the timing. In-house training is going to be very important. There was a temptation to say, well, we have large companies, climate control, I just left, Thomas Peak, big air conditioning companies, where are we going to get workers? One of my pet things is training. I said we will take young people coming out of John Donaldson or other technical schools and train them ourselves. Send them for training abroad to our parent company, train air conditioning. And that's what we did. I remember there was one young guy that had come out of Donaldson, and we classified him as an apprentice because he didn't know anything about air conditioning. Today, he's worked for the company 31 of our 32 years. And today, he is a director of the company. We made him a director because he learned everything in-house. So, it's one of the things that you have to consider. It helps to keep your costs down. It helps to build great allegiance with your workers. And focus on quality. One of the things that helped us to get a lot of business was that we decided from day one, because air conditioning in those days was a bastard industry. It was like some of the insurance guys that when you see them outside, you lock your door and you lay them on the ground. Because you don't want to deal with them. A lot of them are smart men. And people consider air conditioning people to be smart men. So we had to do something to lift the industry, to put a little more quality into it. And what was good is that we tended to get the more difficult jobs, which was also the jobs that brought in more money. And we got the reputation that if you wanted a quality job, come to our company. I want to talk now about the cultural side, because this is what a lot of you might want to say, but there are parallels. My involvement in the company Major and Minor Productions began as a hobby in 1990. I have been a composer of music since I was at the University of the West Indies in the 60s, where I took part in calypso competitions. In fact, I was a calypso monarch at UWI. In 1972, I was approached by Ray Holman to write lyrics for a band song that Starlet wanted to play in Panorama. I came up with the title, I wrote the lyrics, and it's now history that tune, some of you will know it, Pan on the Move, is my composition. Secondly, we did a song called Pan on the Run. Then I've done about 8 to 10 years work in the early days with Lennox C Sharp. And funny enough, in 1995, it suddenly dawned on me that I had written all these compositions, but I loved to just do it. And maybe I got a little thrill sometimes to see it on the banner on Panorama, a little corner that might have my name. But I never got $1 in copyright. And so I decided to try and find out everything about copyright. By the following year, I was made the chairman of the copyright organization, and I got my first check for songs that I had written from the 72 right up to the 90s. Today I advise on copyright matters. And once I had learned something about this copyright business, I went at it with a passion that I must know everything about it. I've been able to sit in France with all the 156 countries of the world and represent Trinidad and Tobago over a 4-day period when they talk copyright. Believe it or not, Trinidad and Tobago got 5 minutes to talk, a little less than I get today. And I was able to speak on behalf of Trinidad. Somewhere along the line, I started to realize that some of the work I was doing with major and minor, composing, or putting CDs out, advising Calypsonians, and that sort of thing, that this could become a viable company. And in the year 2000, I established it as a limited liability, vatable company. And as you would know, to be vatable, you have to turn over more than $200,000 in a year. And I was confident I could do that. I got the company registered as a vatable company from day one. And I have been able to sustain that. I sought to concentrate on areas not addressed by others, and I will talk about some of that as we go on. I kept staff to a minimum. And that's a dangerous thing when you're going into entrepreneurship. The sort of idea that I'm going to need a lot of staff, I'm going to need secretaries, I'm going to need accountants, accounts clerks, and so on. Sometimes you have to learn to do some of these things on your own, or contract it out, rather than hire people that you're going to have to pay regularly. I kept staff to a minimum, and then I used computer facilities to the max. I cannot overemphasize the importance in any field that you go in today to become computer literate. I'm computer free. I think since I was born, I was fascinated by anything that could move. And I have a grandson who's just 2 years old. I think he'll be better than me because he loves anything that looks like a gadget. My daughter has an iPhone and she put a lock on it because he wanted to play with it, so he wouldn't be able to open it. 10 minutes later, he was talking to someone on the phone. 2 years old. How he opened it, nobody knows up to this day. So my final recommendation is keep pace with changing technology. So I'm going to talk about some opportunities in the cultural world. And if I concentrate on music, it's because the obvious area. But a lot of what I'm saying can apply to fashion, it could apply to dance, it could apply to any aspect of culture that you can think of. If you're going to go into the recording industry because you feel that's your passion, there's a lot of opportunities in setting up a digital studio. Again, you need to be computer literate if you're going to do that. What it offers is that you can set up a one-man studio. You don't need anyone else because you can do everything for yourself. If you can play the keyboard and you get the right software, the right hardware, you can do the full arrangement of a song entirely on your own. I produce songs. When I go into, let's say, an old studio, he puts down the bass line, he puts down the chords, he puts down the harmony. Everything by computer, without even touching a musical instrument. And this is what today's world has become. Don't knock it. You hear the guys who sell 1 million CDs in 1 week, and everything you hear there is all digitally done. I'm sorry I don't have the time to show you. I was planning to do it, but the iPad is up there and they're using it. There is a guy in Jamaica who did an interview, and then when you listen back to his voice, he said, you know, this could be something special. There was a big flood in Jamaica, and he produced a video and a musical track on the problem that the flood created in Jamaica. If you have some time, go on YouTube and just put in "Nobody Cannot Cross It." C-A-N-N-E. Nobody cannot cross it. Nobody cannot cross it. And up to this morning, he has got 2,500,000 hits for that. And he is right now the biggest superstar in Jamaica in terms of demand. understand what this era allows you. CD and DVD duplication. For very little investment, we have over 1,000 artists in Trinidad and Tobago. When Carnival time comes around, producing songs that they need to produce CDs, that they need to make copies of, that they need to distribute. And I can tell you, the people who do it in Trinidad, they are overworked. So it's an opportunity. Mastering, as opposed to just recording, is a special art. When your product leaves the studio, it's mixed. What is normally recommended is that the person who records it does not master it, but at a different ear listens to the recording and tweaks it in terms of the levels of the voice. Oh, there it is. Nobody can cross it. That's the guy, Clifton Brown, big superstar in Jamaica right now. Thank you. But mastering is definitely an opportunity. Distribution and marketing is an area by itself. You need to get your product to record shops, to different people, and you need to find ways to market your product. How are people going to know that you have this and that it is good? I just came back from a workshop in Texas on festival marketing. And believe it or not, they said the two best ways to market your product these days in culture is through Facebook and YouTube. The traditional ways of going and taking an ad on the radio and paying for a big ad on television, that's Stone Age material now. And it doesn't cost you that much to use Facebook and to use YouTube, but it is the way. Another opportunity is music publishing. That's what I did. You must have a relationship with CUT, either as a composer or as a representative of people who compose. You must have a good understanding of intellectual property rights. I can tell you, the income for a publishing company is good. In fact, the biggest income earners in music worldwide are the 5 top music publishers. And I'm talking about people like Sony, etc. They make the money more than the performers. But you've got to, this is an area you have to know what you're doing. One of the areas you have to also concentrate on is the legal side of it. You must understand. There's a Copyright Act. You have to know it inside out. There are international copyright laws. You must understand what is the meaning of public domain. People's rights, what are neighboring rights, what are related rights, and so on, and what does it imply? Some of you might have heard of the problem of Trinidad last year. Because he lifted a part from someone else's song. You don't know behind the scenes how much that created. And the person who did the original composition, which is Ed Watson, way back in the 60s, I can tell you, got a lot of money from Benja for using his little riffs of his original song. Other opportunities, live performance. Live performance is the big thing now. CDs are not selling anymore. Trust me. So you have to make your money through live performances. As an individual, as part of a music band, part of a steel band. As a songwriter, songwriters are making money in Trinidad. Compose a song, you could sell it for anything from $1,500 to $5,000 for that song, depending on how popular and how successful you're being. Managers of artists, you prepare a contract, you have then you can, 20 to 25% of his earnings are yours. I managed Kurt Allen, who won the crown 2 years ago. Do the math. Opportunities for musical instruments. Most of the musical instruments sold in Trinidad are imported. Brass wind musical instruments, percussion instruments, keyboards, string instruments. Locally manufactured, National Instrument of Trinidad and Tobago, the band. The people who make drums out of goat skin, etc. And the people who make patrols locally. You may have a skill in that area. You can become an entrepreneur. As simple as it sounds. If you can make a band, tune a band, or arrange for others to do it. There are 2 guys in Ohio. They came to Trinidad, they looked around and they said, wow. They went back to Ohio and built a facility. They have our people coming there, making the band, tuning the band, and then they sell a tenor band for $4,000 US each. And their waiting period for delivery is close to 2 years. They have so many orders. Next slide. This is some work I did towards the end of 2000, and I discovered that over $3 million worth of steel band instruments were exported from TNT in 1997. It is one of our biggest export products apart from oil. And that $3 million is peanuts, really, because the demand was so high that the local people who make the band cannot supply it fast enough. There's a big industry, and just so that you know it where the demand is, 58% of that went to the USA, 16% to the Caribbean, 8% to the UK, 6% to Japan, and 12% to miscellaneous countries. Next slide. I want to run through these because I know our time is getting tight. There are even opportunities in music education. Do you play the piano well? Can you teach people in piano? Can you teach people on string instruments? Do you play the guitar well? Wind instruments, of course, the steel pan. There are not enough formal opportunities for people who want to learn to play the steel pan. You can set it up properly, teach the theory of music, and show how to play the instrument correctly. And teaching music scoring. Music scoring is becoming a big industry. In fact, I have just on my website, for the first time, because I realized there's a big void there, introduced the ability for anyone in the world to download scores of music, calypso, soca, pan music. I can tell you, I expect it to be big for me, because I get requests from as far as Japan, the whole of Europe, America, even Australia, for scores of our music. It took me some time to get the web developer to do it the way I wanted, so that you can click on it, see the first page only, and move to a thing and pay either by PayPal or credit card, $2.99 US for a score, a lead sheet of music. I expect to be very busy the next few months uploading, because I only have about 8 tunes on it, just gone through the trial stage. I have 450 scores of music by the Mighty Sparrow that I have done before, which I put come on the website. And there are many other people that have music that I will be negotiating with to put on the website. In the United States, there's a site called Music Notes. You can get music by Beyoncé and any of the American artists like that. $3.99, $5.99 US, and you can download it and you have it. Why isn't calypso there? I'm trying to change that. Other opportunities is to be a manager or an agent. I can tell you, managing a music band or a steel band is a nightmare. You better know what you're about if you're going to take on that responsibility. Managing of artists can be quite lucrative. I've managed some people, I lose a lot of sleep, managing Super Blue Money. I've managed people like Wayne Rodriguez. And I can share with you, a guy who comes out on top during the carnival period, Super Blue, Marshall Montano, whoever, within the year after they have won an important competition, you can turn over in excess, I'll just put it that way, I won't tell you the actual figures, of a couple $1 million within 1 year. Very lucrative, but you have to have the right person. Go ahead. One, I could spend the rest of the afternoon talking about it because it's one of my now pet areas that I'm looking at. Festival management. Big business, big business. I came back from a festival in Texas. There were representatives from Brazil talking about their carnival. Representatives from Japan talking about their festivals. Australia talking about the Opera House in Australia. No one from Trinidad. And we have one of the biggest festivals, Carnival. Because why? Every year they adopt the attitude, people will come. So we did that way last year, we'll do it this way again. No new initiatives. Today, you are having a festival. There are companies that will develop an application for you, which can put in your BlackBerry or your iPhone and know everything about the festival from that little application, no matter what part of the world you are. This is the direction we should be going. Next slide. The overseas connection. We are here. One of the things that I'm doing now is targeting all of my cultural efforts to the world. I see the world as my market, not Trinidad and Tobago. There are lucrative performance contracts internationally. One of the things I organized this year for Kurt Allen, who is one of my artists that I manage, he just came back 2 days ago from what we call the festival circuit in the United States. He's been there since May. Did 75 gigs while he was there. The gigs range from 200 people in a nightclub to over 30,000 people in an open-air setting. Very lucrative. Virgin territory. Not many Trinidadians he was singing to. He was singing to people who had never seen or heard before. Some people had never heard the word calypso, believe it or not. But well received. Increased song recording sales. If you market your work to the world, you will sell more. It's as simple as that. Licensing deals. If one song gets licensed, I worked with Nigel Lewis, Follow the Leader. We got an offer from an international firm to market it in Europe. The first check that Nigel received in terms of before you get the sales to give you additional money was $150,000 US. That was the first check. Big deals can be closed. I worked with Andre Tanker. I can tell you he had some very nice deals with his music in London. And we also have seen some of the checks that Shadow received for songs that were used in film. Big money. Downloads, that little word, I could have spent my entire talk talking about music downloads. All of the songs that I have produced are on all the top download sites in the world. iTunes, Napster, Juno, FineTunes, Amazon, you name it. My music is there. I have a contact in Germany that I work through. Every month, I receive a check. I put it that way, and we take it. Let's go. We close off with it last night. The future. I tell people every day, the future is now. We are in the future. Everything is available to us once we want to grab it. All the technologies are around us. All the opportunities are there. If I was 25 years now, in this world, with the knowledge that I have, I'd be like Steve Jobs. I'm telling you, you all have the opportunity. The future is now. I remember as a little boy, that was a long, long time ago, the first recording we used to play, my father loved records, was a 78. And the player we used to use, we used to have to go and buy a box of needles and change the needle after playing each record. From there, I went into the type of diamond needle that could play several records. Remember that? And we thought this was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I remember when 8-track came in. Oh, I was an 8-track fanatic. I thought that was the best song you could hear from a device. But they had a problem with the 8-track. If you liked the tune, you had to keep going forward until you came back to the tune. So it took you a long time before you could hear your favorite tune again. Then cassettes came in, and oh Lord, behold, cassettes could rewind. This is it. This is the greatest thing. And then the pirates came into being. But now the pirates had to keep upgrading because cassettes are now a thing of the past. Someone offered me a tune to listen to on cassette. I said, I don't listen to cassette players anymore. Get it on a CD at least, or email it to me. And from there we have gone to CDs. And now, what are the youths listening to? Their Blackberries, their high-touch, their iPhone, or just straight from the computer. So, the changing world, the future is now. We have to understand. Don't fight it. You know, some people say, I like the old-time way. Good for them. Don't join up with Flintstone. I spoke about marketing before, but just to re-emphasize, iTunes and Facebook. And then I spoke about downloads. Thank you very much. I hope I have inspired some of you.
Everybody says that anybody should do the things somebody should do. Anybody knows that everybody should do all the things that nobody did. Everybody says that anybody should do the things somebody should do. Anybody knows that everybody should do all the things that nobody did. We want to thank Mr. Daniell Alvin. He's a very good entrepreneur, a live and successful entrepreneur. And our students, we want you to emulate what you have heard this afternoon. Do not assume that somebody will do this and somebody there's something to do. Everybody says there's some work to do. Nobody wants to do it. Everybody thinks that somebody should do it. At the end of the day, nobody did it. Are you there? In entrepreneurship, you need to, according to that presentation, you need to be a hard worker. You need to grab that opportunity. You must have that excitement. You need to be a strong leader. And you need to have a very strong innovative spirit. And you believe that you can do it, not that nobody will do it and everybody will do it, somebody will do it, at the end of the day nobody will do it. And so if you're that kind of person that knows and understands yourself, and you say, I can do it, from the other presentation, I can do it, not that everybody will do it, somebody will do it. I can do it. I have that excitement. And then you keep pace with the changing environment, the times that we're at. In fact, our students, you are in a time of technology. There are so many things that are available to you for you to become a very strong entrepreneur. And if you do that, whichever country you come from will become a great country. And I usually say that entrepreneurship is the lifeblood of any economy. I repeat that. Entrepreneurship is the lifeblood of any economy. The government of any country is not capable of employing everybody. So you need to be there to ask yourself, do I have the capacity, the ability to do this thing? Am I able to do this? And And that is the summary of what has been presented this afternoon. That I can do it. And if you believe in yourself, you can do it. You can grab that opportunity and change the nation. Be the blood that runs in the country. Without an entrepreneur, there will not be a very strong country. And so this afternoon, we want to thank the last presenter, Mr. Daniell, Alvin. It's good in what he does. In fact, he's an all-round entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. Shall we invite a very strong applause for him? And now we shall invite questions. If you have any questions for Mr. Daniell, we want you to take up the mic. There's one there, and then there's another one right there.
Mr. Daniell, you shared with us earlier about your path to entrepreneurship, and you told us about working in the company and learning from the company and then leaving. And one of the challenges that we learn, one of the challenges we have as going into entrepreneurship is that we learn from the company that we work with and apply the skills in. So we're currently working and we want to start our own business, but work is, monopolizing our time. How do you balance? And then when you get this skill at work, you're going to use that skill to start your own company. So if you were working in the energy industry, or you were working at a plant that produces pipes, that's what you know about. So you would want to open a company that is along that line, because that's the skill that you've acquired. I wanted to find out or get your take on how do you balance the ethical part of moving from working in a corporate environment into your own business, where you may end up being a competitor of the company that you work with.
That's a great question, and I think I can relate right away to it. Say Nina Massey Group of companies. I was a director. I had to go to the person who had hired me. I was not hired by Climate Control. I was hired by Nina Massey, Mr. Roscoe, who put me into that company to turn it around. When I first joined Climate Control, they were in such a bad state. The last, accounts, they were in the red. Every consultant in the company had taken them off of their books. They would not invite them to a single job. And he said, if you can turn this company around, I'll give you the job. I said, I'm sure I can. He said, okay, the job is yours. When I was hired, I wasn't hired as a director. 6 months later, I was appointed a director, because in 6 months, I was able to put the company in the black. And it wasn't that the company wasn't doing the work. They didn't know how to collect the money for the work that they were doing. And of course, their engineering department was in a little bit of a mess. The reputation that I had, I was able, before I went into the company, to go to the consultants directly and tell them, I'm going to be with this company in 3 months' time, because I had to give Shell 3 months' notice. And I would like you to invite them. And they said, well, look, we will give the invitation to you. The letter can come from the company. So even before I got into the company, I was able to get jobs for them. What I'm leading up to now, after 3.5 years when I made the decision to leave, I went back to the same roster. But what I had done, I had already done my 6-month preparation. I registered the company on the morning of the 8th of December. And I went to talk to them on the morning of the 9th of December. One of the reasons for doing that, don't, when you're ready to make the move, leave any possibility of changing your mind. I've already registered the company, I've committed my money, I can't change now. So I go to Mr. Roscoe, I say, I need to speak with you. He was going to a board meeting. And he says, is it critical. I said, yes. He said, tell me it in a sentence. I said, I'm leaving the company. He said, I'll call you later. Don't tell anyone else. And I had to sit down and wait for about 6 hours before he called me back. And the first question he asked me is it irreversible? I said, it is irreversible. And from there, we had a mutual understanding. Strange enough, the policy in the massive group is that if you're leaving, you have 24 hours to get out. On the night he said, I trust you. Will you work up to the end of January with us? I will outline what work I wanted to do during that period. I know you're going into a rival company, so I trust that you will not be dishonest. So it's a question of your integrity. You have to decide what is fair to your employer, what is not fair, and to be open. I was able to go into direct competition with them immediately from the 1st of February. Up to that time, I did nothing to steal any of their ideas, to vilify them in any way. And at the end of the day, your name is more important than any amount of money. Thank you.
Only one more question. Only one more. We'll take only one more question. Then we'll wrap up with that. One more question, you just end. Does any just get on the mic? Any of the mics? Right now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and I'm sure we had a very interesting and informative and inspiring presentations by both the presenters. At this moment, I would like to invite Dr. Stephen Pilgrim to come to the dais, and we want him to participate in the presentation of tokens of presentation to our presenters. First, we have Miss Georgina. She is as we all know, she is the Chief Executive Officer Associate Limited.
On behalf of all of us here, your speech, your presentation was very inspirational. I was writing furtively everything that you were saying. I'm sure I covered it all. You didn't even tell us all. But we really want to say thank you. And we're sure we will benefit from that. And we'll be speaking to you again. And I think we'll have a lot of very successful entrepreneurs as a result of what you told us today. Thank you so much.
I call again Dr. Pilgrim to come forward. He will be also handed over the token of appreciation to the next presenter, Mr. Alvin Daniell. What a wonderful presentation, very inspiring. The only thing is that if we give even one day, he will be able to give us the information. But it's very, while I was sitting there and listening to his experience, it was really touching and very informative and very inspiring. We want to thank you, sir, from the bottom of our heart, and I would like to give this opportunity to Dr. Stephen Pilgrim to say a word.
Some years ago, I went to school in San Fernando, and I sang calypso, a little bit similar to my brother who sang a while ago. And I understand that calypsonians start from just being able to make a poem. Is that correct? And so I think, and I know that you spoke a lot about the cultural industry in terms of Trinidad and Tobago with culture and calypso and carnival and so on. But there are so many other ways in which that could be replicated for many of the audiences here. So we want to thank you for planting a seed of cultural entrepreneurship. I think you've done a fantastic job, and I'm sure that will yield some fruit in this market. Thank you so much.
We want to thank Dr. Pingree